This is the vlog for January 14th, 2019. I spent a good deal of my day putting boxes into a truck and then taking boxes out of a truck and putting boxes into a room and then doing that over and over and over again. And despite how it sounds, I'm very proud of myself. I'm very happy that I did it. I got to do it with my dad, which is always fun whenever I get to do something with my dad because I don't do it as much as I did growing up, obviously. But it's not a very compelling story. So tonight I'm going to talk mostly about video games. Just a few minutes ago, a friend of mine posted a screenshot of the new phone version of Ragnarok Online. Now, I remember Ragnarok Online back when I was in college. Steadily, actually, I think I knew people playing it maybe in high school when I was in my senior year in 1999. So it'd be about 20 years at this point. But I didn't become aware of it until I was in college. And I had a friend, one of my roommates was very much into it. Another one of my roommates was kind of into it, but not to the same degree. And I never got into it very much because it's very cute. It has a very compelling art style. I love the sound effects. I love the design of the look of a lot of things. But as a game, I found it to be very boring. Now, I could have been playing it wrong. And it was in an early state where it was getting a lot of bad translations, and there weren't a lot of guides on how to play it correctly. And I still remember lots of people being very fond of it. But I don't know. Maybe I'll try it now in its phone version. I'm not exactly sure how the new one will work, since I didn't know exactly how the old one worked. But it did remind me of a game that also came from Korea called Gunbound. Gunbound was, and I can't believe I'm saying this, a Worms-like, in that Worms, in addition to a lot of other games, were about having a strangely shaped battlefield that you played in a two-dimensional, like, side view, where one character would launch ordnance that exploded and not only damaged the enemy characters, but also changed the landscape as you fought. The earliest versions of these games were not Worms. They were very old Mac games that at least those are the ones that I got started with. But Worms definitely popularized them and gave them a lot more character and a lot more humor, which is something that was good, I think. Gunbound was in the same sort of warm, cartoony style that both Ragnarok Online and Worms had in sort of a meshed way. But Gunbound only lasted a year or two because it went very, very pay to win, where all the good stuff in the game you could get if you played for uncountable hours to earn the currency needed to unlock the stuff, or you could just give it real money and get the same stuff. And it started doing this at a time when people were just starting to warm up to microtransactions, but the American audience did not embrace it to the same levels that the Asian audience did. So it died out pretty quick. But it was still popular enough while it was around that when I mentioned this to some people, they remembered. I couldn't remember the name. I remember that it had bound in it, but I couldn't remember a lot of the nitty-gritty. Speaking of games paying to win or the opposition and time investment, I'm still playing Elite Dangerous. Now, I've bought Elite Dangerous. I actually got it while I think it was on sale. So I got the game and its Horizons expansion for basically the price of the game itself. And then I went on to buy a whole bunch of the customizable ship options because I really like doing that. I like customizing the way my stuff looks. Sadly, you don't get to look at your ship nearly as much in Elite Dangerous as I prefer, but it also enhances the simulator aspect of the game. And now I've sort of futzed around with my key bindings on my HOTAS. Maybe I can find a button to map some funny camera stuff to. We'll see. Um, I don't really want to talk about the money of Elite Dangerous or how it makes money or whatever. I want to talk about why I had so much fun playing it. After taking boxes and putting them into a truck and taking them out of a truck and putting them in a room, I wanted something more than the mundanity of regular life. So I got back on Elite Dangerous and I went exploring space. And I have to say, the name of my primary exploring ship, which is actually an ASP Explorer, which makes sense, is Love Once Lost. Because I remember being completely enamored with space travel, space exploration, science fiction, Star Wars, Star Trek, everything back when I was in high school. But that sort of died down when I was in college. But for a brief moment when I was taking an astronomy course, it was rekindled. And then I later took a space sciences course that was all about, the feasibility of rockets and space travel and theoretical stuff, sort of a intro guide to astrophysics. One of those courses where you're not actually intending to go further with the discipline as a major, but you want to enjoy the fun parts. And I finished college having renewed interest in the science and whatnot of exploration and the science of figuring out problems and solving them in order to expand what we know and what we can do. And even though it's a video game, there's something about the way Elite Dangerous handles exploration that is just so wonderful. The further out you get, the more bizarre things that you can accidentally come across. And this isn't a game with millions of generated solar systems. Sometimes they don't even generate until you go out there, I think. I'm not entirely positive, but they've put enough stuff. There's a chance where you go that you can find floating vacuum-based fungi. You can find spires of organically shaped metal the size of space stations. You can find all sorts of curious stuff. And if you land on planets, you can find evidence of ancient life and the strange invading Thargoid aliens. And it's why I wrote a story about exploration. Admittedly, mine is much more terrestrial, but that feeling of being there when a discovery is made and the importance and the gravity that those events have and how important they can be as the foundation for a story, and a story that's compelling and that you want to be part of. I like exploration, I like space, and I like writing. And I'm going to keep reaching for the stars. I'm Eric Schmornitz, and tomorrow will be better.